Hello, everyone. Today is Wednesday, August 9th, 2023. And as you're listening to or watching this episode, you probably noticed that we don't have the usual music that we play at the beginning. And that's because I'm here to announce that the Captioned Live show is actually going to be put on hold indefinitely. As many of you know, we started this 4 years ago, and it was myself, Kevin Stoliker, and James Caudell, and we're just three guys who connected on Twitter and said that we just wanted to start a podcast to talk about comics with one another. In the 4 years, it has really grown, but it went from a three-man crew to a one-person crew because James and Kevin had to step away because they were busy with their lives, and now I'm starting to get busy with my life. In the last 3 months that I've been doing this podcast solo, I ramped it up to doing weekly episodes and really love doing it. I love connecting to people who are really passionate about the area of comics and about reading comics. I made a lot of connections and was able to bring on guests on the show that are in the comics industry that I just couldn't be more grateful of having the experience. But the last 3 months has just been very stressful to the point that as much as I love doing the podcast, I just felt like I was always on the go, always working on the podcast. I didn't have a lot of me time and didn't have a lot of time for myself or my family. And so last week, I've actually made that decision to go ahead and put on hold, and I've stopped doing the usual stuff I usually do for planning for the podcast. And I can't tell you how much of a weight's been lifted off my shoulders since I've decided to do that. And I know that this is the right decision for me. So I appreciate everyone's support. This doesn't mean necessarily that the show is completely canceled or stopped. This might ramp up, later in the future when my life kind of gets a little bit more balanced. I have a little bit more time to be able to do this. It's just that right now is not a good time for me to continue on with the show. And so I'm just going to have to put on hold. And like I said, I know this is a good decision because I'm already feeling much better about the fact that I have a lot more time to myself to be able to spend with my family and doing other things that I've been wanting to do but haven't been able to do because of the podcast. I can't say enough how grateful I've been with all the connections and all the people that have listened into the show. I am really just in the last week, I've been really grateful for everybody who has reached out and said that they are a strong supporter of the show, that they're a fan of the show, that some of you have said like this is one of your favorite shows about comics that you listen to. And it's really great. And I love hearing that because we don't hear that as podcasters a lot. If people enjoy our shows or love our shows. So, the fact that I hadn't announced anything yet in the last couple of weeks, people had shared that. I just absolutely very grateful and cannot tell you enough how much that means to me. And I know how much that means to Kevin and James to know that the show had an impact on you all. A couple of years ago, we had talked about maybe doing a Patreon, but I couldn't figure out like how we could do a Patreon that wouldn't require us to do a lot more work and all that. And I finally cracked it, and I feel bad because the moment I decided to do that and started to ramp that up, I started to feel a little overwhelmed, but I got to say that I need to give a shout out to Carson, who was our first Patreon member supporter and who said that, he loves the show. And so I want to say, personally, thank you, Carson, for being our first Patreon and being a strong supporter of the show. And I'm sorry that we weren't able to continue on and give you a lot of fun stuff to do with the show as a Patreon member, but I appreciate having you as one of our first and strong supporters. And I know many of you, like Joe Loves Comics, just tweeted earlier in the week saying that, he listened to our podcast and really enjoyed it. And it's one of the things that he looks forward to in the week. And so hearing those things really makes me, just in awe of the kind of impact that this show had, and that we appreciate being able to bring that to you all, and that you were able to enjoy it as much as we enjoyed doing it. So as much as I hate having to put this on hold because this is something that I love doing for the past 4 years, as I mentioned before, I know that this is the right decision for me and that I'm already feeling 1,000 times better with this decision, that my time is given back to me and that I can spend more with my family. So for the time being, no more episodes. I'm probably not going to be on our social media accounts as much anymore, just because there's nothing much for me to really put out there, since there won't be new episodes. I won't be doing any like content specifically for comics because that's always been tied to the show. So if you've been following us on social media, just know that we probably won't be as active on that, if at all, moving forward until we start back up, if we do. In the meantime, if you are interested in staying in contact with me, I do have another account that's more focused on gaming, such as board games and role playing games and tabletop games and things like that. So if you're interested in that, look at the show notes and I will put a link to where you can find me there under that gaming accounts, which will be Crit Hit the Giant. So I would love to stay in touch with all of you. But again, thank you all for all the support that you've given us the last 4 years when we started this to where we're at now. I'm hoping that we get back into this podcast when we get to a place where we can do this and we can do this right and we can do this so everybody enjoys this and not get stressed out all the time. I'm hoping that this might be, something that we can do by the beginning of next year, but I can't make any promises right now. So for the time being, I hope you enjoy all the things that we presented for you all and that you can still go back and listen to any episodes that we have from some of our great guests to some of the comic reviews that we've done. But definitely reach out. Thank you very much. I cannot express enough my gratitude for all the support that you've given us. Thank you.